Welcome to PhotoshopUser TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And now, here are your hosts, the Photoshop guys.
And the Sundance.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of PhotoshopUser TV. I am Pete Collins, one of the Photoshop guys, and I'm here with Corey Barker.
Hello. Good to see you.
And our great friend RC Concepcion over there.
What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing?
And we are a show that's brought to you by Photoshop User Magazine, the people at the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, and we're here to help you with Photoshop and the things of Photoshop.
And of course, we've got one of the first all-themed issues of Photoshop User, the wedding issue, actually right here.
This just came out. Well, it's been out about a week now, but we've done this specifically for wedding photographers and people involved with the wedding industry. We're also going to be at WPPI for the first time, so I'm excited about that.
Absolutely.
And so hopefully you're going to like that.
Well, we're
wedding
not physically going to be. Well, you guys are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are going to be there. I'm not.
I'm sorry, Corey.
I have to stay here and man home base. So, but you guys got a feature in this, don't you? And RC have a.
Yeah, RC and I did a thing about shooting wedding and having things prepared for that. So make sure you check it out.
And of course I did, I write the Down and Dirty Tricks column along with our creative director, Felix Nelson, did some wedding-themed Down and Dirty Tricks in here. So there's a lot of really cool stuff in here.
He's got 3 great Down and Dirty tricks that he's done that I looked at. I called him up yesterday after I read it and said, man, those are nice. So make sure you check out Corey's article.
Enjoyed it, thank you. All right, so I guess I should read the paragraph.
Yeah, why don't you read that next one?
I'll read the paragraph again. Of course, if you remember last episode, we were talking about we have this ongoing Peach Pit deal. If you go and get an ebook deal, so if it's Peach Pit Kelby TV e-deal, limited time offer, 40% off the print and the process, taking compelling photos from vision to expression by David Duchemin. You can see it right there on screen. It's ebook. You can simply use the coupon code KelbyTV, and the offer ends March 1st. So be sure to check that out at peachpit.com. All right.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to start out, and I think we're going to start out with a quick tip from our buddy RC.
Yeah, you know what? It was one of those things that I got a call late at night, right?
That's usually when you get those calls.
I was putting Sabine down to bed. I was getting everything all ready, and then all of a sudden I get a call from somebody, and they're like, hey, I just finished doing a shoot on one computer in Lightroom, and I want to move it over to another computer in Lightroom, and all of the changes are gone. All the metadata, all of that stuff is gone. And how do you fix that? And I was like, dude, this is something that we can totally talk about. So here's the deal. When you import stuff inside of Lightroom, notice I've got a picture already here.
Great job.
Thank you, thank you. Now,
Choked yourself up on that one.
I know, I was choked up a little bit by it. Now, inside of here, I want to take this and I want to add some keyword tags, right? So I want to give it a color rating of red. I want to give it a 5-star. And I'm just going to go ahead and put model, and I'm going to put shade. So I've added some tagging here. I've added some keywording here. I'm going to go to the develop module, and inside of the develop module, I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to cool it down. Watch out.
Slow it down.
Ooh, watch out. And then I'm going to go over here.
Cool it now.
You're going to lose control.
And I'm just going to add a vignette. Now, here's the thing. All of that stuff that you just did to the file resides inside of the catalog that you have inside of Lightroom. If you want to take that information and you want to move that information onto another computer, there's a couple of different ways to do it. You could either copy the catalog, right, export that catalog out and import it. And you would just go over here under File and go to Export as Catalog. Probably a little overkill, too much to be able to do that. Instead, what I would recommend that you do is right on this file, right, with this file that you have here, if you go back to the library module, you'll see that at the very, very top, you have an option called metadata. Inside of that metadata, what you want to do is you want to go to Save Metadata to File. Clicking on that, it'll take this information. You'll see that it says proprietary camera raw files. These files will be saved to sidecar files. Got it. Click on Continue. Now, watch what's going to happen here. I'm just going to do it right to this one. I'm going to grab this file. I'm going to cool it down. And I'm going to go back over to metadata, and I'm going to save that metadata to the file. Now, from here, if I were to show you this file, you'll see that the file now has a RAW file, and it has this XMP file. So the XMP file is the instructions for how to process that RAW file. So all of the keyword information, all of the develop settings, all of that stuff gets saved into this file. When you click on metadata, save it, it pulls it out of the catalog, puts it into that XMP file. Now, if you use a DNG file, all of that information is saved right inside of one DNG file, which is one of the reasons I like using the DNG file. So when I do the save metadata to file, it puts it all, embeds it into the file, and you're good to go. If you get to a point where you go, you know what, I want some of that. I don't necessarily want to have two files. I just want to have one file. Don't worry about it. You could always go into the RAW file itself, and from the library module, you'll see that you have an option called Convert Photo to DNG. Click on that. I only want to convert that one RAW file. Watch what happens. That file gets converted, and in short order, that file now is a DNG file. All of those settings, if I show you those in the Finder, you'll see that these files will be able to go away. I can go ahead and just set them to delete automatically and be replaced by one individual DNG file. So if you want to move stuff across, make sure that you're saving that metadata to file. And if you want to keep it even tighter, go to the DNG format.
I think that's a great thing for people to think about, because I've gotten caught by that as well. Whenever you're editing anything in Lightroom, it doesn't change the actual file. It writes all the changes on what they call a sidecar file. It like attaches to it. And that's one of the reasons why you can copy that and apply it to a lot of other things. But if you just then take the file away and put it somewhere else, and the sidecar is not attached, it's not going to give you all those changes.
Right, and one of the things that I usually tell people with that is that you can set all of this stuff so that you go and it automatically writes that information
right
into
in your
the
preferences.
in the preferences. But you don't necessarily want to do that, because I feel like you're doubling up. Right? You're constantly hitting the file, hitting the file, hitting the file. Let it be on the database, and as you need it, then you can get it and write it to the files.
Well, and another thing that I've noticed too is, depending on how your bridge is set up, if you have show hidden files or not show hidden files, sometimes you can lose your XMP files according to how you set up your preferences. Knowing that you need to find them, you might need to turn that on to find the XMP files. I don't like seeing, my photographs in an XMP file and photographs in an XMP file, so I turn that off. I hide them. But when I need to transfer it over, I turn it back on so I can grab that XMP file and do what I need to do. Right. But some people may get stressed out because they can't see their XMP file, and it could just be a viewing setting.
I just convert them to DNG and we're done. It makes it so much easier. So, but cool, thanks.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's going to keep people from pulling out their hair, because that is one of those things that will drive you crazy if you don't.
I don't use Lightroom.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Well, hi everyone, we are back, and right now Pete's going to bring us a little something. You got some cool things happening here right now.
Well,
you got gadgets.
As you know, I like to sketch, I like to draw, and I keep getting asked what are my favorite apps, what do I use to draw and stuff, and what do I use as input devices to then bring those sketches into Photoshop. And so I thought I'd share with you some of the things that I like and I use, and I don't get paid or sponsored by any of these guys. These are just what I love. And the very first thing that I've come into contact with lately that I just can't deal without is this right here, and it's called the Sensu Stylus. I'm going right there. And it looks like a regular stylus until you pull it apart, and it's actually got paintbrush.
It's a real paintbrush.
Bristles on it. And what I figured out, I read some stuff, they have copper infused into the paintbrush, each bristle
into the bristles, right? Yeah.
So that it registers just like a stylus as you paint. And if you love to paint, you're going to love this because it also allows you to get even farther back, make large strokes. This is a brush you need to check out. If we check out my computer, I've got the web page up there. It's called the Sensu. Great little stylus. I'm in love with this. I'm not giving this up. Great little thing.
Now, how much? Just real quick, how much are these right now?
$39.99.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Not too bad, considering it just feels. It just feels so good when you're using it, and that's all part of it. We're very aesthetic in what we do, so I love that. Okay, the next thing is once I started using that, I wanted to hold my iPad with one hand and not kind of be clawing it and doing all this. So Tether Tools has a great little case attachment. They've got all kinds of great stuff over there. But I love to be able to mount my iPad like that, and it's got a little hand hold right there, so I can now be walking around painting, and it feels like a
Very Bob Ross.
Yeah, I feel like Bob Ross. I'm getting an afro, I really am. But so that's a little thing, that's Tether Tools. I've got it up on my website now. And now, what everybody wants to know is what are my favorite apps to use for drawing. And to be honest, I have about 5, and each one of them has something a little bit different, and these are my 5 recommendations to play with and check out. And I don't necessarily have them in any specific order. The first one is Art Rage. And Art Rage is just a phenomenal one for using all these different media and get some great strokes. It's sort of like each one of these programs has a plus and a minus to it, and you kind of need to know how you work, which one's going to kind of scratch that itch for you. Great program. The one I probably use the most because it's most like Photoshop for me is Procreate. And you can develop your own brushes and your tips and all kinds of stuff. I love this program. It's great. Sketchbook Pro as well is another one of those just high functioning that you can do a lot with. Layers, both the Procreate, Art Rage, and Sketchbook Pro all have layers. But then one that I like, if I just want to doodle and it feels more like just good paper, good canvas or whatever, I love ArtSet for being able to use these. The downside is you can't adjust the size of them. The good side is it just feels like you're working on regular stuff, that great paper, using great markers, pastels or whatever. And a lot of people probably know this one, but it's Paper by 53. You can have your own little sketchbook, notebooks, and it really does draw some beautiful lines. You don't have a lot of changeability on how you do the lines and stuff like that, but it's just a good, simple program. And then finally, this one is just a fun one. It's free in iTunes, and it does some wacky stuff to create some unique backdrops, and it's called Meritum Paint. And that's the one that I like to hand to my kids and have them be quiet for a little while because they'll just start painting with it and creating all kinds of unique backgrounds. And those are really my 5 favorite apps that I use in iPad, that I'll then do that if I'm out somewhere jotting notes, creating sketches. I will then bring that back in, import it right into Photoshop. A lot of these can be saved with PSD files, or I'll just save them as a JPEG, import them in, put them on a layer, and start painting over the top of them. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I get a lot of questions about which ones do I like, and those are the 5 that I like. Go play with them, try them out, and hopefully you'll find one that you like.
If nothing else, it is a fabulous time waster.
So he's playing with Meritum Paint. Here, I'll show you. I don't have it loaded up on the, let's see, which one's going to be better? You want that one or this one? Let's go to this one right here. What it does is it will allow the stroke to just keep flowing after you finish, and it's really like a lava lamp. In the stuff that you can play with. So it's definitely a time waster, and it's free. iTunes, Meritum Paint. So there's my plug. Go have fun with those, go be creative, and then bring them into Photoshop and get even more creative.
Oh, so cool. I love the idea of a palette. I was just thinking it'd be cool if you could, here's a hint to you app developers
This
out
is
there.
what we were talking about.
If you have a Cintiq, how cool would it be if you had your color palette here, mix your colors, and then paint on your screen?
Yep. There's got to be stuff coming.
Somebody's got to be working on that. If not, I want a full credit for that idea. Anyway.
Speaking of ideas, let's go over to the Idea Master. Corey, what you got for us?
I have a 3D thing, of course. I have to. I can't do a show, 2 weeks in a row without doing something 3D. Now, this is actually something That was part of a tutorial I did in Photoshop User Magazine a couple issues back. I did a down and dirty trick where I took a bottle, it was like a makeup bottle, and made it look like it was splashing in some liquid. And the tutorial was actually about putting that bottle in the liquid. What I didn't show was how to create that actual bottle. So I looked around in numerous stock sites and couldn't really find the one I was looking for. It wasn't at the right angle, it wasn't the right color, so I was like, you know what? It's a relatively simple shape. Let's create it from scratch. And now with 3D capabilities in Photoshop, you can create it very realistically. So here I have the image already set up. Now, when you are creating a revolved object, or lathing as it's called in 3D terms, it's you only need to draw half of it because you're going to revolve it around. So revolving again in Photoshop isn't obvious. There's no revolve feature in the 3D feature, so you have to kind of know where it is. So it's going to go ahead and fill a blank layer with 50% gray. And I've got this path selected. So I'm going to go into the 3D menu and simply choose New 3D Extrusion from Selected Path. And what that's going to do is create this basic extrusion of the object. Let me get my 3D panels out here that I need. So I always keep the Properties and 3D panel right next to each other here.
Now, for those of you who are thinking about this and looking at it, how did you come up with that shape? How did you, when you're thinking, I would need to create a bottle, did you take a bottle and think about just slicing it in half?
I referred to an actual makeup. I found an image on the web, and then I just kind of, in this case I eyeballed it, but in some cases I'll actually trace it. I'll actually bring it in the Photoshop and simply trace half the bottle. In this case it was a relatively easy shape, so it was really easy to trace it. But I did refer to an actual bottle.
Well, I think that will help people realize they don't have to just suddenly out of their mind create a bottle.
Precisely.
They can bring it over into Photoshop and actually trace it, and they've got exactly what they need.
And of course the key is to draw that in half. Now you'll notice if I just change my angle of view here a little bit, it simply extruded it just a little bit. So to get that revolve, I'm going to select layer 1 here in the 3D panel. In here in the Properties panel, we've got these tabs at the very top here. I'm just going to click on the second one, which gives you the deform features. And then down here, you've got this bend setting. Now what I want to do is actually revolve it around the left side. Right now it's anchored to the center under here on the deformation axis you see right here. So I'm just going to click on the left middle button there, and that will now anchor it to that left side. Now if I go and take the horizontal angle here and drag it into the negative, there it wraps around the object, completing the bottle shape. Now what it does sometimes is it has this little hole in the center here. Notice if I just tilt this, it's got the little hole going through it.
Which is a great way to build a cannon.
Exactly. But that's not our goal here. So to fix that, I'm simply going to reselect that object and just bring the extrusion depth down until it closes the hole. Right there. Oh, a little too far. Not all too critical. So closes it up. I'm going to reselect current view and then bring it back to that front view, which is default camera right here. So to select that, it's cool how it animates. It's unnecessary for it to animate
but it's
back
cool.
into that position, but it's cool to watch. So now the bottle is created, I need to now add some texturing to it. So what I want, of course, is the bottle area to be one color and the cap to be a different color. So I need two different colors there. But this is one solid mesh here. All right, it was just created from that one side. So so if I change the color, for instance, if I go in here, and actually a quick way to do it, if you go in the Layers panel, there's the diffuse textures right here. Just double click on the extrusion material. In default, it's filled with nothing. It just applies a gray by default there. It used the gray that we used a moment ago. But if I were to add a color here, let's just do something really obvious so you can see the change here. So if I fill this with red, close it, save the changes, that entire bottle changes the color. Not what I need here. So it takes a little bit of trial and error to get it sorted out. Now I've already created the file I'm going to use, so I'm going to go into the diffuse texture here in the Properties panel. Now make sure you have that extrusion material selected. I know there's a lot of things you have to have selected first before you do this. So Layer 1 extrusion, diffuse, replace texture. Now in my folder here I have this document here. Now it's just simply a square document with the color of the bottle that I want it to be, which is that brown color, and then that stripe is actually the cap. Why it's placed in the center, I will show you. I don't know exactly why, but I'll show you why it works. So there you can see it's applied to the bottle, and it's actually the cap's the right color, bottle's the right color. If we go back into that document, let's go to Edit Texture. And you'll notice, and one of the great things is that these diffuse textures support layers. You don't have to have a flat document. So if I were to take this and move that stripe over to this side, and then save the document, you can see what it's done over here. So it's moving that stripe down the object. So where it was originally was I had to just kind of nudge it, save until it covered all the cap area.
And it's really referring to it almost at a 90-degree tilt.
Yes.
Because when you're saying moving it up and down, you're moving it to the right is actually making it go higher on your bottle.
So right is up, left is down.
Yeah.
It can't be simpler than that. I'm sorry, it can't be. No. But so that's how I went out and created the coloring on it. So now I need to actually apply some more surface properties to give it that shine, that metallic look, or that glass and plastic look. So let's go into the properties again. I still got the extrusion material selected. Reflection property is at 0. I'm going to bring it up to 100%. Already starting. It's already starting to reflect that default image-based light that we have here. I'm going to bring the shine up to 100% as well. Now those glaring lights you see, as I mentioned, if we go into the environment settings, here you have the IBL, which is the image-based light. Think of it as a kind of a gel, light shining through the light areas and then shining on your object. But I don't want to use this default image-based light. You can see it's just simply a document with a black background and a few white dots on it. Yeah, that's okay, but I want to create something a little more custom. So what I developed, again, is this image-based light. Now when this opens up, it doesn't look like much at all. Why is it trying to open it on one? I have no idea, because it's a PSB file. All right, let's just open it directly in here. So you can see it is merely a black background with a few small gradients and this little bit of flare right here. If you showed this to anybody else and said, what is this for? They'll be like, I have no idea. It looks like a bunch of random gradients. But what I'm going to do is actually replace that existing image-based light with this new one. And suddenly, our bottle takes on a little bit more realistic life to it. And then when you have that environment feature selected, you can actually move that light around. It's not moving the bottle, but it's actually repositioning the angle of the light. So this is how you can achieve looks like, if you've got soft boxes reflecting in a metallic object, you can do that. I actually did an image where I actually took a picture of a softbox and used it as the image-based light, so it would look like it was reflecting on that metallic object. So you can really achieve those kind of realistic looks with this. And then that's all you got to do is just simply do a render and see what kind of result you get. And that's how I went about creating the bottle. Then I took this bottle, rasterized it, basically, flattened it down to a regular graphic, brought it into the layout, and was able to build it even further. So there's a lot of very simple things you can start with in 3D, get them rendered, and then bring them into another layout, and then add finishing touches like tie the labels on it, and then put it in an environment, and everything like that. So, but again, starting from a very simple shape, and then creating that realistic surface.
So basically, they're just a few steps, and it's learning what those steps are and how to do them. And it takes a little bit to know that, and you're the man to show people how to do that. But once you understand, you create the shape, you extrude it, you spin it around, then you color it, and then you add the lights and the texture to it for it to show what's going on.
Yeah,
so it's really, that's what you're going to do over and over again. It's just working out how those lights and all work
again,
together.
like the positioning of that stripe and everything like that. I mean, I didn't just know that. That took some figuring out to do. I mean, it took me a while to sit there and sort this thing out. And now some people might say, well, why didn't you just create a separate object for the cap and then a separate object for... I could certainly do that, but then I'd have to combine them and line them up or anything like that. But I'm not going to be repositioning the cap or the bottle anytime soon. It's going to stay this way. So why not keep it all one shape and just manage the color separately on that texture file? So it's a lot of really cool shortcuts with 3D. There's of course, if you're brand new to it, I've got a full-length course on 3D in depth in Photoshop on the NAT members website. So you can check that out if you want to get started playing around with it. And again, I have to say this, and I hate saying this all the time, it's only an extended. The 3D capabilities are only in the extended version of Photoshop. I hope that changes relatively soon, but make sure you have extended before you even get excited about trying 3D, because that happens to me sometimes too. So.
All right, well with that, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to have a giveaway, and we're going to wrap up the show, so we'll be right back.
I can't wait to do this again.
And we're back. Hopefully you paid attention to that last commercial there talking about Photoshop World. And if you haven't been, this is the time to go. We've got it coming up in Orlando the 17th through the 19th of next month. And it's just a phenomenal place. We all were attendees before we ever came on staff here. And if we weren't paid to go there, well, actually, they don't really pay us, they just make us go. We would still be going there because it is such a phenomenal thing to go to. If you haven't made plans to go there, please think about coming. April 17th through the 19th. And we've also got a great rate going on with the Rosen Hotel right across the street.
Right across the street.
If you haven't been, that's a great place to be because it's right across the street from the conference center. You're going to want to be close to all the action. We're going to have all kinds of stuff going on. That's where we're staying. So make sure you check that out.
Now, I think Midnight Madness is also held in that very hotel. I mean, it's right. You're right there in the middle of it. So, I mean, you definitely do you a favor by staying as close to the event as possible.
So do us a favor, go to the NAP website. You can find all the links. Go to PhotoshopWorld.com and find out all that information. We're going to have deals, advice, all kinds of good stuff for you.
Not to mention, the whole reason is that there's a handful of new instructors this time around, a lot of new classes from old instructors. So we're going to have a lot of new stuff. And this, as he said, this is the time to go because things are really changing. There's a lot of new stuff out there, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we revamped the whole schedule so that we've got basically 7 tracks of learning so that you can find a track that you like and go to something for that each time or try out all of them. And so definitely check it out. That's PhotoshopWorld.com. We'd love to see you there. That's April 17th through the 19th. Speaking of what we'd love to see somebody get these prizes.
Prizes! We have prizes.
Corey, what are these prizes as I hand them to you?
These fine prizes today are ON1's Photo Frame.
Photo Fame is a whole different thing.
It's Photo Fame on a DVD. You will instantly be famous. Now, Photo Frame Professional Edition. So very cool there. Have a book here, Picture Perfect Practice by Roberto Valenzuela. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, these are 2 great products. We love ON1. They are great sponsors about a lot of things, and their quality products are just, we go to them all the time, and that's a great book by Roberto. Somebody's going to win it. How do you win it? You're going to go to PhotoshopUser TV.com.
No, it's Kelby TV.
Oh, how do we go to that?
You were so close.
I was. Corey, where do they go?
How about they go to KelbyTV.com/PhotoshopUser and go ahead and just go down and leave a reply. Leave us a comment, leave us a question, what you'd like to see on the show or anything like that, or just tell us how much you love the show because we love hearing that.
And this is episode 336, so make sure you keep track of that. It's episode 336. Leave your comment, leave your stuff there, and you could win these 2 prizes. Well, that's going to wrap up another episode. RC, thank you so much for coming over and joining us, showing us. I'm excited about the whole sidecar thing, understanding it. I just figured that out a little while ago, and it's life-changing.
Only thing on RC's right now is where are we going for lunch?
Yeah. RC walked in wanting to know where we're going for lunch, so you might want to write some lunch suggestions around the Oldsmar area on your comment, and RC may pick up on that. Corey, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Every week. I love it.
It's great to be here, and I am Pete, one of the Photoshop guys, and we're bringing this to you every week here on Photoshop User TV. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.